Early signing day has come to an end, and Hugh Freeze nails it, bringing home a top 10 class. Let's talk about it on this edition of the Uptempo podcast.
You are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, Auburn family? I'm your host, Dustin Smith, man. I hope everybody's had a good week as we all sit back and prepare for Christmas. So Christmas presents came early, Blake. Early signing day has come to an end, and a couple months ago, we were all saying, I hope we can land around that top 12. And then last week it was, I think we can come inside that top 10. And now we're knocking on the door of that top 5, baby. Hugh Freeze, wherever you're looking, gets us around 6th, 7th, 8th. Just kind of, like I said, depends on where you look. I like to use On3 for the simple standpoint that they kind of combined all the industry rankings. They have us sitting 7th, Blake. They have us with the number 4 overall star ranking. And we look at Georgia, they're number 1 overall, but they have 28 commitments compared to our 20, right? So I talked for 8 hours yesterday about recruiting. So I'm going to give it to you, Blake. How are you doing? And just talk about this class, man, and the amazing job that this staff did yesterday.
The Auburn Tigers signed the 7th best recruiting class in the country, the 4th best recruiting class in the SEC. Let that sink in real quick. You're amongst the likes of Georgia, Alabama, Texas, and then Auburn. Remember when Hugh Freeze said, hey, give me some time and I'm going to have us competing against the elites. I'm going to have us competing for college football playoff spots. But I got to get the talent in here first. I got to get things, I got to get the ship steering the right way.
Yeah.
And he's doing that. Man, my buddy was up at 10:30 last night signing kids. I mean, offensive lineman.
Yeah, we needed that one. That was a huge win.
One that we thought that was going to Alabama.
Yeah.
You shoved Billy Napier in a locker yesterday. You shoved Nick Saban in a locker. You had Perry Thompson out here trolling him to death. So, I mean, it was a good day. It was a good day. And, you know, you look back at the 6-6 and you feel like Auburn could have won more games, but yesterday was a win. Yesterday was a win. And now you go get momentum into the bowl game, and you got kids that have signed early. They're showing up at bowl practice, and they're showing out at bowl practice. So you got to feel like the momentum's headed in the right direction. And, I mean, last night got me, man. Last night got me. 10:30. I mean, he sends out a bat signal, and you're sitting here going, man, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, who are we snagging? Because it kind of felt like everything had died down, you know, like it usually doesn't go that late. And then, bang, there it is. The one position that we've sat here and we've said, hey, man, we got to get it together. We got to get rolling in the trenches on the offensive line. And then you get a big ugly, and the kid, what's he, Dustin? 6'8", 300 pounds?
6'8", 300 pounds.
I mean, come on, son. I mean, and just got all the talent in the world. So I'm just sitting here right now, still trying to process all of it, man. All the talent that we got. I'm so damn excited for this program and this staff, man. Seeing Marcus Davis and chest bumping people and with a smile on his face and just getting his hands on these receivers and you know, Josh Aldridge and the job that he's done and just the progress that the linebacking room made and everything throughout the year. Look, we know secondary. We know what they're going to do, baby. The Jack boys, all right? We ain't worried about them. We know what they're about. So I just think we're continuously getting better, man, day by day. So that's what I'm most excited about, Dustin.
Yeah, one thing you kind of mentioned Perry there, and I wanted to ask you this because you've grown up in Mobile, you've been in Mobile your whole life. You know how hard it is for Auburn to get kids that Alabama really wants out of the 251. I mean, for a long time here, it feels like a decade at least, it's been damn near impossible. Mm-hmm. And not only to get him, not only to win the battle, but to do it that way, like for because how many times? I mean, we've seen a kid with an Auburn tattoo on his forearm, commit to ultimately still go to Alabama. And so I know that when Perry was taking that Bama hat, and did that pump fake, I know Auburn fans across the state were going, "Oh my God, here we go again." And look, the reports are starting to kind of leak out about there was a push that last night from Tuscaloosa. They wanted Perry Thompson. Not only did they want Perry Thompson, I think they wanted the optics of it, right? I think they wanted to get that flip back to point at us and say, "Ha ha ha, no, not yet." To hang on, Blake, that last second push, and like I said, that's a tied stronghold for a long time down there in the 251. Just how monumental of just a win is it, just from that standpoint alone?
Especially at receiver. All right, and you look at all the talent that Alabama has produced and put into the NFL at that position, and you come down here to a Alabama rich city. All right, Mobile is Alabama as Alabama it gets. All right, I know what Birmingham's like, but these people down here in Mobile, I mean, they love Alabama, right?
Yeah.
And you go across the bay, and it's the same way. And look, what really stood out to me about this is Perry stuck with Auburn. All right. If Perry would have flipped back, that shuts all the Ryan Williams stuff completely down. It shuts all of it down. I honestly believe that. I think if Perry would have flipped back, the Ryan Williams stuff would have been no bueno. Like, you could have stopped talking about it, honestly.
That's a good point.
I think I've heard, I don't know how true it is, but I've heard they are super close. And, I think these guys, yeah, they look at early playing time and everything like that. All right. Ryan Williams is going to play early at Alabama or wherever he goes in the country. All right. But I also think they look at matchups, man, and you can't double team all of them. All right. And when they're all on the field together, I just think there's going to be mismatches everywhere. And everybody says, "Oh, well, you don't have a quarterback to throw it to them." That's blasphemy, man. You get Peyton Thorne some weapons, and you see what Peyton Thorne can do. And we're looking into the future, man. We're not sitting here just scrambling in the now. All right, we're looking into the future. You never know what next year a Holden Garner could do, or a transfer portal guy, or even a Walker White. You don't know,
Yeah.
But coming down into Mobile, like you said, Dustin, and getting a guy like Perry Thompson, also who went to the same high school as Julio Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a legacy right there. That's a guy that he's one of the greatest receivers, period, ever to ever do it, man. And you snatched that kid to Auburn. Hell of a job by Marcus Davis. And like I said last episode, man, Marcus don't get enough credit. We saw him work that night at Foley. We saw him. I mean, he was hard at it, man. He doesn't get enough credit. Hugh and this staff and what they've done. And I'm telling you right now, you can listen to whatever you want about Perry. All right? The Alabama fans, "Oh, he's not that good." I am telling you, he is a freak. All right. He is a freak. He's what, 6'3", 200 pounds?
Yeah, I mean, when I clicked play on the video of the race with him and Cam Newton, or excuse me, Cam Coleman,
Already thinking natty, baby. Already thinking natty.
He was wearing that Cam necklace yesterday. He was wearing that big old shiny Cam necklace, and I've made no, I'm not going to be wrong on this one, so I don't care. Cam Coleman's going to do great things at Auburn. But when I clicked play on that video, I was thinking like Coleman's about to burn him. Not burn him, but win handily. Nah. We don't really know who won because the camera work wasn't that great, but you can tell it was close. And I'm like, golly, that big old boy is moving, man. And when we go back to like the summer, even back before he did the flip and they all threw Hugh in the pool and all that, he posted that meme of everybody going one way off to the right, fork in the road. And then and there was the one guy going left. Yep. And you talk about Julio, And it's just interesting. This is not something that's really in Auburn's control or not, but it is interesting that I remember going back to that time. He had made a couple comments, and I think it's kind of why reporters quit asking him about it. But if you go back to when his recruitment had really picked up, there was a lot of that. You're from the same high school as Julio. It was every interview. And he made it a point to say, I'm Perry Thompson.
Yep.
I respect Julio. I respect the path he blazed at my high school and what he did here. And he's one of the greats, and I love him and respect him. But I'm Perry Thompson. And I've always kind of thought, and I wondered if that helped us out a little bit, just by default. Just him like getting tired of hearing you can be Julio, because he already is a similar body type. He already is the same play style. Then coming from the same high school. In the back of his mind, do I want to now go to college? And then when I bust on the scene in college, and this is Perry Thompson from the same high school as Julio. He sure looks like Julio. Like, I think he thought about that. And then Blake, Hugh Freeze comes in with the message he sold all these cats on: be different.
Yep.
And I think it was a really nice recipe, and we landed us a dog.
How about Hugh the other night before Monday Night Football? He posted the DK and then the AJ Brown right next to each other and said, hey, these are two guys that I recruited. All right. These are two guys that I coached. And now look at them. They're in the NFL. All right. It's strategic, man. Hugh knows what he's doing. He's got a game plan. All right. Yeah. And that's what he's saying. Hey, all right, Perry, guess what? You see AJ's his body type. You see DK. We can make you that. All right. We can make you that big physical receiver, goes up and gets it and has a great NFL career. It's there, man. And Hugh completely understands the job at Auburn. He gets it, man. He gets it. He's not, you think, let me tell you something. Perry Thompson released a little clip of a documentary that he's putting together soon. All right. And it showed what he grew up in. All right. Yeah. You think Brian Harsin is going to that? No shot, brother.
Well, we have the proof that he would. We have the data that said he didn't.
He wouldn't, and he still wouldn't to this day. All right. He wouldn't give Perry nothing. Right. All right. Period. He's not doing it. But Hugh gets it. Hugh says, hey, man, I'm trying to make this kid's life better. All right. I'm trying to improve his family. All right. I'm going in here and we're not even talking about football at this point. We're talking about life. We're talking about your family, dog. And I think that's where Hugh hit home. Is Hugh built a relationship and said, hey, let's take football and let's put it over here real quick. I want to talk about your family. I want to get to know you on a personal level. I want to dig deep, man. And me and you, man, did you see the dap? Did you see the dap up with Perry?
Yeah.
It looked like they'd known each other for years. And that sup, baby, that come from the heart, bro. That come from deep down. Hugh has been there. He can relate to these kids, man. And that's the difference. That's why you see Auburn in the ranks, in the top 4 of the SEC. Guess what? Texas, Alabama, they're in the playoffs. Georgia, in my opinion, should have been in the playoffs. Can't tell me they're not one of the 4 best teams in the country. All right.
About that.
And guess what? Who's right behind them? Auburn. He gets it, man.
Yeah. When you talk about those teams you just mentioned, they all are obviously right now on the field where we're trying to be. So to sell those guys on that message, and despite the passing attack looking like it looked at times this year, for those guys to never waver, for him to stay in there, to stay after a guy like Cam Coleman, and speak like that, the effort on, like Cam Coleman said several times in several interviews now, that the moment that it fell apart at A&M, I knew where I was going to Auburn.
Yep.
So that just tells you, like, when we've seen a lot of our staffs previously, not just Harsin, where at some point they would have taken a back seat, and who's still at Cam's games, still at his practices, still getting him to come down whenever he can. Hey, man, what are you doing today? Come down and see us. And we're 30 minutes down the road. Come see it. Like, it just, you talk about getting it, like, he just gets it, bro. He gets it. He understands the parents. He understands winning mama. He understands what that's about. And winning mama is going to get us 2 kids from the Falk family. Already got us 1. The second one's on the way that are just going to both be greats at Auburn. Like, I mean, they're great. We already seen what Keldrick is, and I'm telling you, his little brother can play some football. So, and this again, when we look at the 7th class, number 4 overall as far as star rankings, this is still on a short notice, man, because all these guys that we've been recruiting against have been recruiting these prospects for multiple years at the school they've been at. This was Hugh in year 1, having to throw together a season. You know, we're still in the hunt for Ryan Williams. The story's famous now of Ryan Williams saying, I stood over there by Coach Thompson one time for 10 minutes and he didn't talk to me or my family. Like it's a famous story at this point. And that's obviously not going to happen with you. But the point I'm making is that's where you were. That was your starting point with KJ Bolden. Yep. And I know that one didn't go our way, but we didn't know up until he walked out with that red bow tie. We were in the hunt for the number 1 safety in the country, and it's the era of the transfer portal. What if things don't go the way in 2 years that he wants at Georgia? Guess who he's got a really good relationship and a ton of respect with? Hugh Freeze. Now, in this 25 class, now they've got time. You're already sitting 5th. We're already 5th no matter where you look in the country. I think somewhere we might be 6th. But you're already firmly inside that top 7 in the 25 class with time. And now you have this pocket in your class or in your back pocket. Now, when you're going to get whoever, I know they're after Ryan Montgomery. He's a quarterback out of Ohio. And they're after KJ Lacey, the quarterback out of Saraland there. Those are the 2 main ones I've seen. Now, when you go to those kids, guess what you get to say? Pen to paper, I've got Cam Coleman for you to throw to. I've got Perry Thompson for you to throw to. I've got Malcolm Simmons. I've got Bryce Kane. So, and now we all know, you mentioned the offensive line. We know that's where we got to go. That's what I've got circled on 25 of, okay, we need 5, 6, maybe 7 guys here that we really need to attack. And it was funny because I had to dip over to your boy DG's Gators side over there. I had to go over there and see what was going on and read some of their stuff. And rightfully so, Gator fans are upset. Discussion for another day, I guess, but I don't know how many more days Billy Napier's got cashing a paycheck from UF, brother. That was tough. And I guess we can use that to transition to one of our big gets of the day. Is you go in there and you get to solidify this really solid defensive line class, the number 1 player out of the state of North Carolina in Amaris Williams, who I want to say, thank you, Amaris. He posted a clip on his Twitter saying, this is how you say my name. I encourage every high school prospect to do that when they're going pro. It would give people like me and Blake a big help. I got a bookmark, Blake, in case I ever need to go back to it. This is how you say his name. Cool thing. I like that. I thought that was cool. But yeah, that so Florida got rated. But what I was getting at was I was reading their stuff, and then I went over to a couple other teams' boards, and what they all were saying was, wish we could have got a little more on the O line. And I think everybody's walking away from this 24 cycle saying that, right? So we just really got to attack that coming forward. But other than that, man, I can't give this class an A+, Blake, because of that. But I give the effort from the staff an A+, and I'll give the class grade an A for sure. And the defense is an A+ to me. I think you crushed the defensive side of the ball.
Absolutely. And just getting Amaris to flip is one thing, man. I really think that he tried all he could for LJ McCray. But I think LJ was just I think his heart was just with Florida, man. It felt like that when I was watching the IG live, and leading that week leading into it, up to signing day, it just kind of felt like, I don't know, he's a high school kid, and Florida was on him early and often, and I just kind of felt like he wanted to stick there,
Right.
But Amaris and what he's bringing to the table is exactly what we need, and we're thin at that spot. We need guys, and it was a big time pickup. And what's crazy to me is before he even flipped, he was actively recruiting for Auburn.
Right.
So, I mean, these guys get it, man. And like, the talent that we actually brought in. Like we signed, I think 6 top 100 recruits, and Alabama signed 5.
Yeah, I think it was 5 according to Rivals. I know
Yeah,
Mike G had posted the graphic today.
like insane, man, insane. Um, and just I'm still just kind of just like at a loss for words what we actually accomplished yesterday. I mean, the talent level at Auburn.
Just got one.
Who is that?
Towns Magoo, baby.
There
Got
we
the
go.
kicker we wanted.
There we go.
Let's
Dude,
go.
I mean, there you go. Like this, the staff still hasn't stopped. Like they're
Let's
still
go.
at it, man. They get it. Um, they 100% get it, and it's like Waller, man. Like you get him to flip, and you just got so much momentum, and you're creating pipelines down in Florida again to get kids out from that state. That back when Auburn had hellacious defenses, you were pulling talent left and right out of that state.
And Kinsley Falson, we watched this highlight clip yesterday, Blake, and you had
Yep.
I had to cut you off, but you referenced every time we talked about recruiting all year. Blake was saying, "I'm telling you, I talked to Junior Rose Green back in the day. Junior Rose Green said you got to get some DBs out of South Florida. You look at a guy like Carlton Davis. Obviously, there's the path. And we watched some Kinsley Falson tape yesterday. Under freaking rated, dude. That kid can ball. I hate to cut you off, but
No, you're good, man. You know, I'm with you on the offensive line stuff, and one thing I'll say to this on the O line thing is there's still another portal cycle, and I think the staff made it known that they wanted to clearly put all the chips in the basket, put all the chips on the table, and say, hey, we're focusing on the high school route first portal window. We're not going to hammer this portal window as hard as we will the second go after spring. So now I think you might see after spring ball, some guys might hit the portal, and you might see Auburn start picking up some pieces on that offensive line. But I mean, as far as just the one last night, man, the what's his name?
Favor Edwin.
Yeah,
Offensive
Favor
tackle,
Edwin.
yeah.
Yeah. Absolute pickup, man. The fact, like I said earlier, the fact that you're basically going into recruiting battles with Georgia and Alabama.
You beat him head up on that one. You beat Nick Saban head up.
Yes, because there was a crystal ball saying that he was going to Alabama.
After they're in home, after the Saban in home.
And they crystal balled him to Alabama. And so it's refreshing, man. It's refreshing because anybody can get on social media and make the little jokes about New Mexico State and everything. I'm telling you right now, Hugh Freeze didn't give a piss about that first season, brother. I'm telling you, he showed it yesterday. He recruited his ass off during year one. All right. And I'm not saying that it's okay to lose to New Mexico State or anything like that. But I'm telling you right now, this man was worried about recruiting. He was worried about the talent level at Auburn. I know it sucked, some of the games that we lost and everything, because we had a chance to win them. But the main focus was on recruiting, dog. And he hit a home run.
Yeah, we talked about this a million times during the season as it was going on, how he had trusted some people to put together something a little more competent on offense, and ultimately he had to step in and say, okay, now I do have to kind of put my hands in the offense. But when you talk about Favor Edwin, you beat Bama head up, and they'll tell you we didn't want Perry, and they'll tell you we didn't want this guy. He's only been playing football a couple years. He's a project, 6'8", too tall. They're going to tell you all this kind of stuff. And then why Nick Saban drive to his house and try to get him? So you don't trust your coach's evaluation? That's one of the things that's never made sense. It's like, nah, bro, if Nick Saban wants him, he's most likely a good football player. And after losing to New Mexico State, after giving up a 4th and goal from the 31 to Alabama, you still won those battles, bro. It's so impressive. I want to talk about Towns Magoo because I've seen him play this year. But one thing I wanted to mention was another thing. You when you say Hugh gets it, go way back to when Walker White committed. Hugh understood, I got to get the QB on board early. I got to get this kid on board early. And then when Walker White committed, he had a list of guys that he wanted. He's making sweaters of guys that he wants and wearing at the games. And he's constantly calling people and trying to get them on board. He stayed on Cam Coleman, and not to mention the kid can freaking sling the rock. Like he can sling that pill 50, 60 yards on a rope, bro. He's got a cannon. He's obviously, like any other quarterback coming out of high school, got stuff to develop. But Blake, just talk about Walker White, man, and being the pillar of this class and being one of the first ones. Hugh only had 6 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, really of recruiting him when he had committed. It was really early into Hugh being here. So to get him on board so fast and then to watch this class just kind of grow and watch Walker, who's never played it down at Auburn, already become a part of the family. We feel like we already know the kid, right?
Yeah, so one thing I'll start here with Walker is, first off, great kid, great family, everything about him A plus, man. So when Hugh went in to get Walker, Walker talked about this. He said, "Man, I thought I was Clemson bound. I thought I was going to Clemson." And Hugh left a lasting impression on him. And his dad asked him, "Where is it, son?" And he said, "I actually think the move is Auburn. I think I want to play for Auburn." So then Walker commits, and you never saw no funny business afterwards.
Good
It
point.
was all Auburn. It was Auburn decked out at the games, like you mentioned, the sweatshirts with the names on the backs of the receivers that he wanted and everything. I mean, whole kit bang caboodle, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he was 100% Auburn. I think the relationship that really stood out was the relationship with Bryce Kane. And he established that relationship fairly early. And they were always on Twitter talking, social media talking, posting highlight tapes of them at camps and everything. And I mean, Bryce will tell you, I watched his IG live the other day. He thinks the world of Walker White.
Mm-hmm.
And they started actively recruiting these guys and bringing them in. And I don't know. I don't get the whole narrative around Auburn doesn't have anybody to throw it to them. Like, why are people trying to push that? The kid can play, man. Like, you pull up his film, he can play. He can spin the football. All right. My thing with the whole division thing is people are like, "Oh, well, he plays, 1A private school ball." I get that. People, we aren't asking Walker White to come in year one and be the starting
Right.
quarterback at Auburn University. All right.
Go
We're not, that's not what we're asking. All right. I don't care what division you play in, dog. If you can ball, you can ball. Zion Williamson played in the private school league in South Carolina against a bunch of 5'8" dudes and went to Duke and was a unanimous All-American. All right. It was the #1 draft pick in the NBA draft to the New Orleans Pelicans. So all of that stuff where it's like, oh, well, he played 1A ball, he played 2A ball. Kerryon Johnson was a 3A running back. All right. I mean, 3A, dog. School I went to was 3A. We had maybe 30 something people on the sidelines on Friday night. Like, that's just, I don't get it at times, man. Everybody's just like, what, baby? Okay. Sorry, man, my daughter.
You good,
Go on,
bro?
guys. I just don't get the narrative at times that people try to push of you just don't have nobody to throw it to him. Walker White was a highly rated quarterback. He's a 4-star guy. And I can promise you right now, Hugh Freeze wouldn't have got Walker White if he didn't think Walker White could play. That is, look, Mr. Quarterback, arm couch coach, or whatever you want to call yourself out there. Hugh Freeze ain't recruiting. He ain't going to Arkansas and recruiting Walker White if he can't play football. If Hugh didn't think that he couldn't last in the SEC, he's not making the trip. He's not doing it. And I know what people are going to say to that. Well, Hugh also went and got Peyton Thorne. Man, like we said the other night, give Peyton a chance, man. Give Peyton a full offseason. Give Peyton some playmakers, and let's see what Hugh can really dig his hands down and study with Peyton and work on things and give Peyton a second year.
Yeah.
We've
And
we've we've said it 1,000 times with
yeah.
Burrow, Daniels. Man, they struggled at times at LSU in their first year. You got to give a kid a chance, man. He wasn't at Auburn but for 2 months before the season started, dog. Like, give him a break.
Yeah, no, let Peyton get a full spring, let him get some weapons. I mean, we can look at our outside receivers last year and it speaks for itself. So I'm not making excuses for some of his play, but I
Yeah.
feel like it changed up a lot when our offense changed up a lot. And also the thing about Walker is he's the first one that Hugh got from high school. So like the portal, I mean, you have guys you like out the portal, and when we talk about the offensive line, I failed to mention Sedna, the late addition, or I don't even know how you would call it, late, early, whatever, in the beginning of
Yeah.
the season with the Northwestern situation, right? So you got a kid there who, by my understanding, already kind of cracked the 2 deep. And has 4 years of eligibility. They did something similar when they got Caleb Burton in the portal. You got a former 5-star that still had 4 years of eligibility. So Hugh has found creative ways to do that. But with Walker, this was the first kid that Hugh went and got out of high school and said, okay, I got you from freshman year to however long.
Yep.
So this is the first kid that we're going to get to see that he handpicked to run his offense that he wants to develop. And I think a lot of it is, yes, Walker can run. Yes, he's athletic. Yes, he can scoot. Yes, like when you turn on the highlights, I know highlights are just highlights, but some stuff, man, is undeniable. If you throw a ball across the field 60 yards on a rope that lands in a bucket, that is what it is. Like that's arm talent. And I think Hugh sees all that, but on top of that, it's the intangibles. How many times has Hugh told you what he expects out of his quarterbacks? It's a lot. He expects you to operate like an NFL franchise quarterback if you're going to be the quarterback of an SEC program. It's a lot. And he looked at Walker White's intangibles as well and said, this kid can handle it. So I'm super fired up for just watching him and the receivers develop. And man, if you never know, I mean, there are some guys like I just am willing to bet anything in the world Cam Coleman hits and goes on to the NFL and becomes a successful player. But you still never know. But it would feel really good to watch a kid like Walker White, who was bought in from day one. I think back to the Arkansas game, him sitting up in the stands cheering on our team. It would be great to see him be successful. So as we started recording, you saw what you got.
I was just gonna say, how does Arkansas let him get out of that state?
Because we wanted him.
Yeah, man.
When
don't.
does Arkansas beat his head up for a guy that we really wanted?
I mean, they should never. I don't get it, man. I think that's kind of why they brought Bobby P back. But yeah, I don't know how you let him get out. Even Clemson, man. Like, why are you not all over that kid? But I mean, Walker's gonna run the RPO, man. That's what Hugh wants, and that's what he's good at. And I don't get some of the hate on him sometimes. Is like Dustin. Dustin brought up his stats some episodes ago, and he was completing almost 60.
He finished around he finished around like 56. I want to say.
Yeah. And that right there, we're not asking him to come in and play year one. Everybody's like, oh, well, that Walker White's coming to campus. But Walker White's not coming to campus to start next year, okay? And I think it's a good thing for him to sit behind a Holden and a Peyton and, learn the offense, grow underneath those guys, and in 2 years, take it over, and it's all yours,
Yeah.
But he was definitely the pillar of the class, man. Like he held it down. He got everybody, on the same page, and they started all working together, recruiting together, and can't say enough about them.
Yeah, for sure. I know you got a Christmas play to get to, brother. But one thing that I wanted to, as it happened here as we hit record, Towns Magoo, the Auburn High kicker, committed to Auburn. Now the way this whole kind of thing went down is, we got McPherson. McPherson still got a lot of eligibility left. So, and I think that in the era of the NIL, you're going to see more and more teams do this with kickers, offer them NIL money to pay for the scholarship. That'll cover the same. It'll cover all the stuff financially. It'll be the same deal. It just won't be technically a scholarship. That way, the school can use that spot. I mean, why wouldn't you do that? And you have another open spot available for a position player. So my understanding of this is if McPherson has another good year, he might go pro. Is the talk. So he's not going to just, if he continues to do what he's doing, he's not just going to ride out his eligibility at Auburn. Most likely, maybe not next year, possibly, but the year after that, they're not expecting McPherson to stay, is what I'm saying, for the entirety of his career. So with that being the case, let me tell you, bro, this town's Magoo.
Yep.
And I love McPherson. Perfect on field goals. How can you can? It's only missed one in like a year and a half at this point. But one thing Towns Magoo will do that nobody on our roster can do right now, he'll kick it in the student section on kickoff.
Yeah.
He'll put it in the freaking student section, brother. Remember when Carlson was hitting the people standing up against the brick wall? Remember when he hit old girl in the face?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is the LSU game. That was hilarious. That's Towns Magoo. When I walked up about an hour before the game, Phoenix City versus Auburn High, and this kid's out there at the logo just booting them. And I'm like, what? What? Who is this? And the guy in front of me was like, that's Towns Magoo, bud. Towns Magoo. You don't know? I'm like, I don't. No, I didn't. I did not. Good Lord. Yeah. So just stack them up. And so my understanding is the plan is to, if McPherson goes, keep him on the NIL situation. And then if McPherson goes, then they'll give him that scholarship spot. So didn't expect that as we hit this record button, but that fires me the hell up, dude. That's a big time get. And dang, dude, like kind of a complete team. He added 2 of the top long snappers in the nation. You get one of the best kickers in the nation. Defensively, you can go from defensive line to linebacker to secondary. Everything but offensive line on offense, and we've mentioned the reasons 1,000 times as to why that is, and we found creative ways, like I just mentioned with Sedna, to get some other pieces in there. Like Blake said, I think we go get 2-3 guys in that second portal cycle, veteran guys to kind of give those young cats some more time to come up. But yeah, dude, a complete class. Just one hell of an effort. It's been a ton of fun to follow it over the past year. I've had a blast, man, going out to these games and watching these kids. It was so much fun to watch the year that Bryce Kane had, watch the year that Cam Coleman had, and I look forward to. Look, it never ends, Blake. Now it's time to circle the board and look at the guys for 2025 and get after it. So yeah, we're gonna and for us from the podcast standpoint here. You can expect to really see this recruiting stuff get turned up here at the Up Tempo and at the War Report Network as well. Gonna really got some big things planned in the future. Really kind of get our foot in the recruiting game. So I'm fired up about that. The 2025 class is going to be, in my opinion, is going to be even better. So before we get out of here, man, my final thoughts are just great day to be an Auburn Tiger. Yeah. So proud of Hugh Freeze. So proud of all the ladies behind the scenes, all the support staff. You know, everyone that sets up the visits, everyone it takes a village, man. This thing is a complete team effort. And when me and Blake come on here and we tell you things are really aligned at Auburn, what you saw yesterday, that's it, right? That shows you that we're not just blowing smoke. We're not just pumping sunshine. Things behind the scenes at Auburn really are aligned, because you don't do that, Blake. You don't do what you did yesterday if everybody's not on the same page, man.
I'm not trying to cut you off, Dustin, but them damn boosters, they just don't want to see Auburn win. It cracks me up, man. Jimmy Rain just giving money away to Auburn University because he wants to see them lose every Saturday.
Nobody bitching about Yellowwood yesterday, were they?
It always that whole thing always cracked me up about
my favorite one.
Yeah, just there's a booster problem. Yeah, man, they're just giving money away because they want to see Auburn lose. Sure, that's awesome. I mean, but so look, my final thoughts, man. I'm from Mobile, Alabama, and one thing I'll always do is show love to my guys in my city, and that is Bryce Kane and Perry Thompson. everybody else who signed, man. I'm so damn proud of each and every kid who signed with Auburn yesterday. But I want to throw this out here. Dustin and I, we traveled, back and forth. Baker, Foley. We would go to all kind of games, man. I know he hit some games in Pensacola. I hit some games at Mary G. Montgomery to see the Hollins kid who just signed with South Alabama. We did it all this year. And the two guys that I want to shout out are my two hometown guys, two guys from my area, Bryce and Perry, man. I've seen them perform, and I've seen Bryce play baseball, and I've seen how they've carried themselves on the field, and I've watched them, followed them through social media and just their interviews and everything, and just two humbled kids, man, two humbled kids. And I say this about Perry, man, is I'm so excited to watch this documentary, and I've heard so many great things about that kid. And just a little clip that I talked about earlier of him just uploading and see where he came from, and how humble he is. And he tells Hugh that, he's like, man, it was just all humble beginnings. He's like, it's just blessings, bro. It's just blessings. I'm just proud of these kids for making something of themselves and using their talents, man. Bryce Kane has only been playing football for like 3 years.
Right.
All right. 2 to 3 years. Incredible. And I keep harping on, if you haven't watched him play baseball, I know he hung the cleats up, but we got to find some footage to watch my buddy, because he was a talented baseball player. But I'm, like I said, man, even the Hollins kid at Mary Montgomery, I want to show love to him also for signing at South Alabama, one of the most talented quarterbacks in the state of Alabama. South Alabama got an absolute steal yesterday. But that is one of my biggest goals here, is to always shout out kids from Mobile, Alabama, Baldwin County, anywhere that I know. There was a couple kids from Gulf Shores yesterday that signed with Brent Dearman at North Alabama. Deshaun Davis, the linebackers coach up there now, and I know they're stacking up talent, man. And that Gulf Shores team, they were the 5A state champions this year. Just any way I possibly can, man, I want to shout out these kids from this area, and just don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't do something, man. Don't, just keep grinding, bro. Grind. I've watched Bryce Kane develop for 2 years at Baker High School. Grind, dog. The kid, he didn't play football his entire life. So it can be done. You got to put the work in. You got to grind. I'm damn proud of these kids, man. I love it that they are headed to Auburn to help a position that we have struggled at for so many years. And I just can't wait for them to get up and flourish, man.
Yeah, no, there's a ton of good ball players in the 251. It just feels damn good to get some of them on our side for a change.
Right.
Yeah. And there's still another one out there that's got to hop on board, man. 4 out of the 5. Let's complete that thing. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do that, man. Hit the thumbs up. If you're one of these people that's watching every single episode, but you haven't hit the subscribe button, make it a little bit easier on yourself by just hitting the subscribe button. And then you don't have to search us out. It's just right there in your feed, baby. So do that for us. We will be back. Blake, I'm so lost on days not working here, man. What are we on today here? Thursday. So it's supposed to be Sunday episode next. This is our Friday episode.
Yep.
We will be back Sunday at 3 p.m., man. We will see you guys then. Warrior Damn Eagle. Had a blast with all you guys yesterday, man, that were over on the War Report. Had a good time there. So, yes, sir. Sunday, 3 p.m. We're out. War Damn.
War Damn Eagle, baby.